Right, okay, the big question, what is a dolmen? Well, obviously the structures are like dolmens. They're called chamber tombs, don't they, or quoits, or cromlechs, all these different names. But they're found all over the world, aren't they? So the idea, so what can we, there's so many different theories as well. So what can we do to find one particular answer to it? Now, I know what I think, and obviously I don't know, but I think, being a follower of the Western mysteries, what I see are initiation chambers that have been used for different purposes, for different reasons throughout the different time periods. But mainly, I think that they are initiation chambers, the sort of idea that you would have got to a certain level in your training or your training basically, and you need to go somewhere into somewhere, a dark place, to meditate on what you've learned and hopefully find the next step. And so you'll be in a tomb for 3 days, and then the stone will be rolled away, and you would come out an initiate to the next level. That's, in a nutshell,
The Dolmen, to me, it's a very special place, made of megaliths, usually 3 or 4, with a huge capstone. Most of them Neolithic age, or that's open to debate. Some of them might be older, some might be younger. And to me, they are one of the liminal places where we can interact with the ancients. So it's not just a pile of rocks. They're often on energy centers, often on ley lines. They often have psychic activity, but they're one of the places that I think you can connect with the past. You connect with the ancestors, connect with the land, and ultimately, I guess, to connect with yourself. And there is a lot of debate whether they were ever covered, whether they were ever tombs. Most of them freestanding around the world. You don't seem to find any semi-eroded ones partially covered. So a lot of people think, especially with the Cornish ones, that they were always freestanding. In other words, we're seeing them as they always were. So that invites you then, that then gives you the possibility as to, as well as going underneath and in them, were people going on the top of them if they were never covered by earth. So, you get great views of the landscape generally. And, but like with any Neolithic structure, they are multifaceted. I don't think we should say this is here because of this reason. There's always more than one thing going on. It's just like a church or a chapel. They have services, they have funerals, they have baptisms, they have christenings. Just because a church is surrounded by a cemetery, you wouldn't call it a burial site. So I think that's how I look at sacred sites. And dolmens are one of those. And some of the ones I've been to are that stunning landscape views. I think landscape is everything. We often underestimate the landscape and look at the structure itself. But again, that's a mistake to do that. But ultimately, in a nutshell, I think dolmens are a place that we can go to today to connect with the ancestors. But as I said, to ultimately connect with ourselves. And I think they've always been such a place.
The Dolmen is one of those very ancient sites that we find all over England, mostly though in the West Country, in Cornwall and Devon and those. And it consists normally of 3 or 4 upright stones with a capstone. And often the capstone can weigh anything up to like 20 tons or more. And it's believed that originally they were used for ceremonial practices or included like the burial of the dead or communion with the dead. And that originally, although they now only consist of 4 or 5 stones, which some, in fact, are so big that a man on a horse could ride underneath them. but they've been shortened. That one's been shortened. But it's believed that they were once covered all in earth, and that has been eroded away with the time because they were built probably in the Neolithic time, thousands of years ago. I believe that they were used for ceremonial purposes, especially with to do with the dead, that they were used in like burial ceremonies. Either they might not have been buried actually at the dolmen, but would have been passed through there. Much like in modern times, coffins are often carried through yew trees in churchyards as a way of passing from this world into the next. And of course, they are very old, and you can find them all over the British Isles, and I say particularly down in the West Country. And they actually imitate some sort of natural outcrops that are like this. You do find in the landscape up some large stones resting on upright stones quite naturally.
To me, Thomas, a dolmen, obviously an ancient structure. It could be a matter of anything, protection from the elements, something that's been built to withstand time, to bring knowledge to people in the future, to remind people that things are. But I think the basis of it for me is it's something's been buried there. And over time, things have changed, the landscape have changed to create what it's become today, its final, the resting place of what a dolmen is today. That's why I personally think, obviously, far more people far learned than I. And that's what makes the whole subject of archaeology, of history, of mystery so good, is that there's so many different thoughts and theories out there. And none of them are wrong, let's face it.
So a dolmen is technically, it's a series of upright stones with a capstone on top. Sometimes these were covered with earth, other times they were open sites. They're found literally all over the world. We're not just talking about in Britain and Ireland, we're talking Korea, we're talking Africa, even North America, Australia, virtually everywhere. It's one of these types of megalithic sites that is found worldwide. What fascinates me is that they're often connected with giants. They're said to be the giants' tombs or the giants' tables, like we find in Cornwall. In other areas, they're like the giants' griddle, the giants' kind of grave. Wherever you look, there seems to be this connection. But what's also interesting is that they're often placed, and we find this particularly at a place called North Salem Dolmen or Bounce Rock in New York State in America. They're built on a kind of energy spot where two types of geology meet, and certain tests have been done by people like John Burke. And this is based on the work of Philip Callahan. When you place seeds at the entrance to these dolmens, they get charged up to such a high degree that when you go and plant them, they increase yield and the quality and size of the crops. So they're like fertility generators as well. And this knowledge may have been passed around for generations and potentially all over the world.